that like, share the show. We're about to get going. Fire up those emojis if you're on Twitch. Thanks for the hearts on Substack. Instagram, where are you guys? Where are you? Happy Tuesday to you too, Aaron. Where are the people at? All right. There they go. Thanks, Patrick. That's right. Thank you, Jamie. Oh, that's right. Thank you, Walter. Okay. Good afternoon, good evening, good day, good morning, good what have you, wherever you are in this crazy burned out berg of a world. I feel like I need a fake cigarette for that. Wherever you are out there in this dystopian landscape we all think passes for life. Wherever you are, I hope you're making the best of it. I can't wish you a good day, good afternoon, hello. You know what I mean? I hope it sucks less. Sorry. This is the problem. I think we're all Carrot Top wannabes in our hearts as comedians, and you leave a prop laying around, it's gonna get used. That said, hi, like, subscribe, share the show. It's House Parks Megaworldwide, the dailiest of daily shows, the greatest live stream in the history of live streams, with, by the way, the greatest chat room in the history of chat rooms. I've heard back, for real. I've heard back from everybody on all these different channels, and all they do is sing your praises. When the sparklers show up, they're like, phew. They're not going to get butthurt over anything. A troll can't, absolutely cannot do anything to upset them, and they're educated and smart, and they're allowed to have their own unique mistake. That's what everyone's entitled to, their own unique mistake. And so we don't care. We let it slide because it's humanity, right? Now, there's a lot of stories going around about the stabbing in North Carolina. And it is brutal and disgusting. And you guys know how I feel about situations where somebody's got like a history of assault and they're released. I've never been a big fan of we think too many people are being locked up, so let's just release people who beat their mom up and shit like that, and then they end up killing somebody, and everybody's like, how could we have possibly known? Sorry, I don't buy it. It is important. It's its own form of bigotry to assume that you can't put away the bad people amongst any group because they're all bad people. That's essentially like, well, if you start locking up any of them, you're going to lock up all of them, which is the whatever I guess the soft bigotry of low expectations that's been talked about for a long time. And when you set up a situation where you go, easy on this kind of crime, what happens? Does it not happen? No. Humans are humans, and humans are going to human. And crazy, misanthropic, violent assholes are going to do terrible shit. There was a woman stabbed on a train in North Carolina, in Charlotte, by a Ukrainian refugee who moved over here. Blonde woman sitting by herself on her phone, stabbed in the throat by a big black dude with with dreadlocks. I was about to say Jerry curls, but big dreadlocks, and the whole, like, just right, both of them right out of central casting for this kind of thing. Now, as upset as the right is getting, you'd think they were a bunch of, I don't know, liberals after a school shooting, which they don't seem to get as upset about. You'll notice, unless it fits right into their into their belief system or feeds their argument. Okay, so what do aliens alien? You're asking the wrong guy, smarty pants. Go watch my alien story. It's on the web someplace. I know we got to find the link to that at some point, because I could go deeper into it. It's fun, no pun intended. Anyway, so the the point I'm trying to make is that they're going to take advantage of violent acts if people don't deal with them for real, and that's why violent criminals, of all sorts, no matter what color they are, no matter what the percentage of the current number of them in jail is in any particular way, they got to go to jail and they got to stay there. Or everybody else in that group that you're allegedly thinking you're helping now has to carry the weight on their back of every early release criminal in their group. It's occurred to me recently, because there's been a big jump, especially around situations like this, in what I would call, like, white guys stealing Chris Rock's jokes, if you know what I mean. And if you don't know which Chris Rock bit I'm talking about, it should be self-evident. But this idea that there are two different types of black people in the world, and one of them's got to go. That's the premise, if you haven't seen it. Okay. And there's a lot of that conversation happening, both in the black community around, the Hodge twins and that crowd, which is not surprising, the conservative wing of like the black community that's online. And again, we're dealing with a subset of a subset of a subset. So don't read that much into it. Just understand that whatever you're seeing online is always that third tier subset of reality. So take it with a grain of salt. But the other thing is that on our side of the aisle, there is a kind of I've always thought, as a Kentuckian who moved to Chicago, that white people, especially in the South, upper middle class white people in the South, have always had a hick problem. You've got a hick relative who's back in the day it was shine, then it was meth, then it's fentanyl, right? And so the family has a couple of hill people, like Christmas Vacation, and Eddie shows up in his fucking RV, right? There's always been that issue in the South. It's not as prevalent in the North and in big cities, so people are kind of disconnected from that thing. But there is absolutely there's white people and there's hicks, and hicks have got to go kind of an attitude in the South. You serious, Clark? right. And does anybody know what I'm talking about in the chat room? Anybody that's from the South and deals with that there is a very distinct class, education, attitude, personality difference between your upper middle class white people throughout Lexington and Louisville and Murray and E-Town in Kentucky, or Nashville, and Memphis, versus the sticks. Okay? So everybody's either got that relative in their family, or they're worried that their kid will marry into the hill people, the hillbillies or the white trash or the, you know, that crowd. Okay, and there is a there is an almost, I would say, an unashamed disdain and distance for the hillbillies, having been on both sides of that line, having been literally in Peaks Mill. My house was behind a hill with a mile-long driveway. And if again, if those of you who don't know my upbringing in Peaks Mill, we didn't have running water out in at our house, from the city. We had a cistern, a giant concrete fake well, basically in the ground, and the the government would come in and pour water into it once a month, and that was our water. And if we used too much of it, drank or took too many showers or something, the we'd be out. And there was always a categorical step down in my life when we were running low on water, and that meant I got to shower, but I had to piss and shit outside. So the women in the house, my mom and my sister got to use the toilet, and the men, because they were stinkier, took showers. Me and my dad. And then if I had to piss, you just go pee off the porch. Don't waste any water on a flush. And if it's really bad, you go shit in the creek. And that's how I grew up till I was 14. Okay. And pretty normal. Okay. So and then, after my parents got divorced and my dad moved, he got like 3 jobs. He moved to Florida, and then he moved to Chicago, and then ultimately to Minnesota after I was in high school. When he moved to Chicago, I went and lived there with him. I spent summers with him in Florida, and it was an entirely different experience. He had this little apartment on Singer Island off of West Palm Beach, and it was a tiny little place, but my sister and I would stay there. My dad would be at work all day, and we would just go swim and hang out on the beach. And it was a mind fuck to just go from Peaks Mill, Kentucky to that. Okay, even my grandparents' house was an extraordinary leap forward. It was like time travel to go visit any of my other relatives. And then when I moved to Chicago, obviously a complete flip over, like trying to my dad was trying to gentrify me with a fucking crowbar. Literally my dad had a thing when I moved up to Chicago, and I sounded like Elvis. I had a peach fuzz mustache. If you don't believe me, please feel free to quiz Johnny Million about this on his streams, and he will tell you unexpurgated stories about you. It's Johnny Million on YouTube and Twitch. So my dad literally sat me down and explained cutlery. Not that I didn't know how to eat with a knife and fork. Not that I was a heathen. But he was like, this is if you go to an actual nice dinner, you eat from the outside in. This is your salad fork. This is for dessert. This is your water glass, that kind of stuff. Now, most of this I knew from Cotillion, because as part of our church, we went to town in Frankfurt, and I went to Cotillion. That's where I would dance with my girlfriend. But then they would try to gentrify you a little bit. But I was kind of a lost cause. I was a stinky little fucking hill kid. And so there's a real distinct line. Not just in attitude and who you're going to hang out with, but if you're going to let those kids come over to your house and hang out with your kid in the South. And you could see when it happens, and and the parents get all weird about it because those fuckers live out in the sticks, and my kid's kind of like a, nouveau riche redneck. Nouveau Hicks absolutely use smartphones. And again, cable TV hippified the entire South, and there's all this other stuff. But there's still that distinction. The wild and wonderful whites of West Virginia versus your kind of average, northern Kentucky, southern Cincinnati suburb white folks that consider themselves from the South. And this is a distinction about Southern people. So Southern people have a very, a hyper class distinction, and it's not based on just money, and it's not a fabrication. It's real. Like, you have a breakout kid like me in that area because my dad's an architect and my mom's a nurse, and both of them like books. And, ultimately, a kid like me will be rejected, like, by Kentucky like a fucking transplanted baboon heart. And, they'll, like, shoo, right? But there is a distinction in that if a redneck white kid, like meth head asshole, breaks the law, kills somebody, shoots somebody, nobody misses them, including their family. If you have a relative who lives in the sticks and does something fucked up and awful, or is in a gang, or is trafficking meth, or is in a fucking biker gang, or any of that kind of stuff, done. Like, nobody cares. As a matter of fact, when they go to jail, the family's like, whew, right? That for real. Um, and again, I don't know how many Southerners we have in here, or if anybody has any relation to that. But when they're busted for a fucking crime, nobody's like, "How dare you? He's my brother. He's my cousin." They're like, "Fuck, let them take care of him." For real. And that is consistent across Southern whites. It does not mean that they don't have criminals in their family. It doesn't mean it's just the minute they get busted doing something fucked up, the whole family goes bye, because there's nobody coming at them saying they took him because of his skin color. So they don't react to it like that. They don't have that weight of history on this. It's a 1-to-1. The fucker did something awful. He's kind of annoying around the family anyways. He's a bit of a drag. So, and it's mostly he's in every group. And once he gets sent away, they're like, yeah, sucks to be you. And they want him. They don't show up for fucking parole hearings. They'll visit him in jail, but they don't show up for parole hearings at all. And the worse it is. Okay, so in that whole, like, there's black people and then there's other kinds of black people, and these black people got to go. That whole joke that Chris Rock was telling, it's kind of like the telling of, like, urban black people or people in certain areas, they have a hick problem and society won't let them deal with it. You know what I mean? Like, society won't let them go, fuck him. Like, again, there's no snitches get stitches for the most part in the white community in the South, where the education levels are equal or lower than inner city areas or something like that, where everybody's always looking down at that area. Well, the fucking South is rife with illiterate fucking toothless sister fuckers, eating mayonnaise sandwiches, right? That's the Chris Rock bit. That's true. The only difference is in that community, in the white redneck adjacent community, you're allowed to tell them to fuck off. You're allowed to tell on them. You're allowed to turn in your own kid or your fucking neighbor, and there won't be, a Hatfield and McCoy thing anymore, because that's basically been put to the side. And there's this, like, cultural shit that I feel is a burden on portions of the black community, because because of the overreach on over policing on the right, the under policing kind of reaction on the left, trying to figure out what the balance is back and forth, when the balance is really commit the crime, do the time, done. And if that was the standard, so many people would just be allowed to have their own fucking lives, because again, most victims look like their attacker. Most groups attack in groups anyways. So if you just let the law be the law, that's why we have jurisprudence. That's why we have the situation that we have. And I feel like there's this, like, weird racial burden because of slavery and other kind of stuff that we as a society lay on black people that makes them kind of go, oh, I guess I can't get rid of that guy because it's not him. The system might be something, right? It's the system that went after him, or I have to believe that? Is that what I have to believe? And it's just fucking rude. It's dismissive of the people who are just trying to get on with their lives. The vast majority of everybody, of every group. Right? And I feel like every group should have the right to go, yeah, we have 80-20 rule with any group. 20% of us are going to be the cause of 80% of the harm. And those fuckers, if they're found guilty in a court of law, they got to fucking go. And I feel like in a big portion of this, like, black people aren't allowed to deal with their hicks. That's what it is. They're just not allowed. They're supposed to carry this, like, political weight on their shoulders. And it's not fair. It's not fair to everybody else. You know what I mean? And I know this is kind of like on the edge of the bubble conversation for a lot of people. But I find a lot of this to be so fundamentally unfair to the vast majority of human beings in this country that somehow the sins of the father are belong to the child, and like everybody's carrying this fucking generational or historic weight upon their backs, and they can't just get rid of the bad people among them because of this fixate, because it's a fucking ping pong match of overreaction and underreaction. Like, the compensation of underreacting, no cash bail, is a reaction to the overreaction of, like, racial profiling and overdoing it, instead of like focusing on the function of the jurisprudence system and make sure it's legit as much as you can. And then if anybody's innocent, you focus on getting them out. Innocent, not the weight of society was against them, that kind of stuff, because that'll never play out in a 10-year, 20-year cycle, and you just let criminals out into the public. And here's another example of it, that when a town decides that the captain of the football team shouldn't go to jail for rape because they really want to win this season, they're guaranteeing he's not going to come around and now that he's a football star, he's going to suddenly become a good guy. Right? He's going to keep victimizing women because he knows he'll get away with it. Is that the fault of any other football player on the team? Is that the weight they should bear? Is anybody who like goes to that high school who, just happens to have been going to a middle school when that motherfucker was in the high school? Thanks, CSL. It's a complicated conversation, and it needs to be had. Right? Is it a middle school kid's problem that they're going to go to the high school where the fucking parents let this one kid get away with it because of team loyalty or some shit like that, and the belief that, well, he's learned his lesson? I think in those situations, no. Let the letter of the law be the letter of the law. And if anybody is being railroaded, meaning they didn't do it, and they're being put in jail for something they didn't do, then you undo that, not just because that person's being victimized, but because there's now somebody out there on the streets who did do it and who can keep doing it. It is crucial that the law be blind. That's why justice is blindfolded. So it's not about your means, and it's not about your race or circumstance at all. Sorry, Gino says, I know Hal means well, but he could really fucking ask us. No, I'm telling you from my point of view, why, like, white people have had an ability to handle their white trash problem because we don't carry any of that burden. We can dump on our own and get rid of them because it's not a numbers game. Nobody cares about the percentages. Nobody even asks, even if it's high. And again, this goes to like red state, blue state. That's what I'm talking about. Because if you want to talk about percentages of people, the vast majority of quote unquote whites that are in jail, which are, by the way, the majority that are in jail, are Southern whites. Southern whites are overrepresented for violent crime, even when you have big cities where allegedly the crime is off the charts, right? Does that mean we should let some of the Southern whites go so that Northern whites we can make room to arrest Northern whites? It's weird. It's the wrong question to ask. And what it does is it means like, okay, we're going to release a bunch of like rapists and murderers from jails in these redneck areas, like now we're even, that would just cause more rape and murder in those areas. Right? And why should anyone have to carry that weight? Because society's still working out its bullshit. Surely not all white families are disloyal. That's not disloyalty. It is not disloyal to turn in your somebody for murder, rape, or a violent crime or theft or something like that. You know why? Because that would be disloyal to everyone else in your family. Everyone in your family that you're choosing to side with the one who would harm someone. And by the way, that person will, 9 times out of 10, domestic violence being the most cases of simple assault in the country and in the world, I would argue, where there is a regular judicial system, not out in the middle of nowhere, but in any normal Western society, we'll just focus on that. Most of the simple assault cases in the country are from domestic violence. So if you're, quote, disloyal, and if it's disloyal to send the person who beats his wife to jail for doing that, then he's going to, you're basically saying the wife and the kids, you can be disloyal to them. Does that make sense? Okay. So I'm throwing that out there, and it's one of the reasons why I'm not going to cover this story directly. There's plenty of information on it, but it's also why the red side gets to jump on it with both feet when they don't give a fuck about school shootings. Right? I'm all about having a conversation about society when there's a school shooting, right? But I'd rather have the people who committed it in jail for the rest of their lives, and then we'll, when that happens, then we can talk about rather than like, well, they escaped, they're running around, but we're not going to go look for them. We're going to start talking about how many guns are on the street and whether guns are the problem. We can do both of those things, but we need to get the person who shot the kids first. Yes? See what I mean? So you handle that part, then you move on to the broader societal things. Otherwise, you're just leaving it up to the worst people to handle it. If the good people don't try to solve the bad problems, then the bad people will, in the worst possible way. And at the very least, you should have the room to disagree and have arguments about the best way forward. Always. Right? So many men on death row are innocent. No, they're not. Not even close, Ellen. No. No. There's not, like, everybody will say they are, but no. No. And again, even then, if there's a single person on, and I'm against the death penalty, period, by the way, for the record, because if a single innocent person gets killed on death row, that means that system itself is murderous, and that's counterintuitive. I believe in locking people up and keeping them in jail for their natural life. But I don't believe in killing somebody because you can't undo it. You can always, I guess, some point, if they're 89 years old, go, sorry, dude, and we'll let you out. Right? I agree that they deserve to die. I don't think it's the state's place to carry it out because it can be fucked up. Yes, DNA from DNA in old cases. No. And most of the people who are getting out are on death row for the DNA cases, especially now. Now DNA cases, they've all been adjudicated. In the last 20 years especially, everybody's run back through it. There's a lot of people, the only people not asking for DNA in their case are people who are very aware that they're either guilty or guilty on multiple counts. But the point is, we've talked about this before, because law and order and crime and stuff, the right wing has seized that issue largely because that ground has been ceded. And if you don't take care, if you care about innocence, if you care about victims' rights, if you care about mitigating and stopping the amount of violent crime that is out there, then you have to engage with the system around it and not pretend it doesn't happen, or be, fabricate a mythology around it and hand it off to somebody else. Okay? You have to deal with the reality that's in front of you. If you don't, then the Trumps and the fucking Steve Bannons and that crowd of the world will swoop in and lock everybody up. And that's why literally we have racial profiling now by ICE, because of ground we ceded because it was an uncomfortable conversation. Because Biden wasn't even able to float the border bill until it was an election year, because he was accused of racism for even broaching the subject by the Twitterati and the fucking, it's funny, I've been dealing lately with this whole idea of the right and left and the fringe of the right and left. And to me right now, it's more like a pizza crust. Like the crust is now deciding what the pizza is. And the rest of us are just in the pizza, like we're the pizza, and the crust is trying to tell us it's the most important part. And that's because we left it up to them. We left it up to the edges because we don't want to deal with it in the middle where people care. As the uglier the issue, the uglier the topic, the uglier the potential harm that can be done, the more responsibility those that care most about humanity and like the ethics of jurisprudence and a system that honors the individuality and humanity of everyone, the higher responsibility for somebody who cares that way. Because if you don't do it, you will hand it over to the most awful. It happens every time. You could track the cycle of like Law and Order crime and back and forth, like this vacillating fucking windshield wiper of political realities. When unfortunately, and this is why they call the bureaucrats the deep state now, is that the reality of constant gardening is not sexy. It's just it's just life. It's just, most things happen in that middle 80%, and the 10% on the extremes on either side is the part that needs the most work. And it is the business of the fringes to pepper the entirety of the landscape in both directions with their attitude, their belief about who the villain is. They have to villainize the rest, right? So this is crucial. And I'll leave it with this, and we'll move on, because we have a ton of videos and stuff and stuff to cover, which I think is important. But part of why I brought it up was because here's Trump holding up a picture. This is the guy about to stab the girl on the train. This is a still shot from that video, and he's holding it like it's one of his stupid fucking props that shows everybody that even though the economy sucks, it's going exactly the right direction. This is all prop shit. And he holds up a picture of the dude who's black with dreadlocks next to the white girl who's a fucking Ukrainian immigrant, by the way. She's a refugee, which all of a sudden the fucking right wing gives a shit about Ukrainians. Get the fuck out of here. But do you understand how he is using this as a prop? Do you understand how if you don't deal with this kind of stuff when it happens, and everybody can't rely on you to deal with it when it happens, people like him will use this as an excuse to send fucking troops into American cities. You have to be able to speak honestly about stuff when it happens. Because if you habitually don't, and you're known not to, people like him will take advantage of it, and they will use it as a springboard to do whatever the fuck they want. And the people that will be victimized because of it will go far beyond the individual case that you're even talking about. Or the possible political argument around the atmosphere of that place, whether it's Charlotte and the police there or something like that. The ramifications will be nationwide, if not worldwide. Look at him. He's just flipping through these fucking things like, look, I got this picture of this girl who's about to die. She gets stabbed in the neck 3 times. By the way, she was just on her phone. She wasn't doing anything. Dude just came up behind her, decided she had to die, and killed her. He'd been in jail multiple times. He'd been released multiple times. There was no reason why he shouldn't have still been in jail. And by the way, anybody who thinks this is unique to the black community, you got to understand, if John Wayne Gacy had done his full time when he was first busted for sodomizing a 15-year-old, half of his victims would still be alive. If not all of them, because he never would have gotten the start he got doing it. He would have never been able to get himself in the good graces of people. He got out 6 years early, I think. Like 8 years and did 2. Because he was a swell guy. I mean, all he was in there was for, molesting a 15-year-old. Forcibly sodomizing a 15-year-old boy. I believe that when someone is sentenced to time, unless there is some sort of extraordinary circumstance, they should stay in for the length of it, for the safety of the general public. And because no one is ever paroled from a cemetery. I am against the death penalty, but I also do not believe that people should get out early on an assault or a violent charge if they have harmed or killed someone in the extreme anyways. We're not talking about bar fights and shit like that. We're talking about domestic violence and stuff that accelerates up to murder. No, 100 times no. And there's no reason why the black community or the Hispanic community, or the Asian community, or the white community should have to carry the fucking burden of somebody going, well, I think there should be fewer people of your ilk in jail. No. What's the merits of this case? That's it. If you want to solve the social ills that put that person there, you're going to have to start with the next person. You're going to have to start in the schools. You're going to have to start in after school programs and all that kind of stuff. You're going to have to build that structure. That's where your outrage and your work. And when you see something like that and it seems unfair to you, you're absolutely right. But it's not going to start with that person who's already made their choices. Because that person you're staring at, there's dozens of other people just like them out in their own fucking town not doing that shit. They're not getting any attention. This dude will. This guy right here. This guy now, thanks to being released multiple times after repeatedly criming people, now he's the most famous black dude in Charlotte right now. And every other black person in Charlotte that's in its age group, every male black dude now has to carry the fucking weight of, I bet he's just a matter of days, just a matter of time. And that's unfair. That's wrong. They should not have to carry that weight because somebody thinks that this person is indicative of something, and so we've got to solve society's ills by focusing on this one person. Go lighter on them. Yeah, Dahmer's another fucking example. Bundy's mom fucking thought he was innocent till they started. She read his letters she saw his letters that he was writing about what he had done, and when she believed the letters, she was like, oh fuck yeah, I love him because he's my son, but he should never get out of jail. Even Dahmer's family were like, we don't want him to get the death penalty, but we don't ever want him out on the fucking street. And nobody was like, how can you be disloyal to your son? Who burdens a group of people or a family or a victim or a neighborhood with that shit? How dare you? Alyosha, I'm scared to go outside because ICE and I'm brown, but American and never voted MAGA. Alyosha, that's because of ground seeded by us. I can only talk about our responsibility in this situation because none of us are going to make fucking Stephen Miller obey the law or Trump. You got to vote your conscience and show up every fucking time, and you've got to deal with the real issues that are around these kind of things. And if there's somebody who commits a crime like that, go to jail and stay there. Again, nobody's ever gotten paroled from a cemetery. Stop it. And stop making the people in that neighborhood, on that block, on that street, in that high school, carry the fucking burden of the monsters among them. Because again, white trash people who commit crimes like that, the rest of the white people in the fucking periphery of that town don't give a rat's ass when they go to jail. They're allowed to go, fuck that dude. But for some reason, society has decided that if it's a racial minority, the entire fucking town has to carry that person on their back. It's not right. Other than that, I have no opinion. I just, and again, maybe, chat room, if you will, maybe this is, I don't know that I've ever heard anybody articulate what I just said anywhere. All I ever see is this fucking vacillation between mythologies. We need to fucking lock them all up and blah, blah, and they're fucking, like, black people are this percentage of the crime and this percentage of the thing, so they're all fucking bad, right? Like, whole, like, Fuentes side of the world. And then the other side, like, abolish prisons and ACAB. And both of those crowds are not just morally reprehensible. They're fucking stupid. And I for real, fucking stupid. So, like, what is it? Who is that? DOS Discourse on IG speaks to it often now? Okay, I don't know that I've ever seen them, so. Well, cops do suck. No, they don't, Linzetto. It's a lazy, cheap shot, and it's foolish and ridiculous. And I go with what Lenny Bruce says. Cops are the fucking mailman. Let me see if I... here, hold on. There's a... Let's see, videos. Put this in here.
Understand that some
okay.
And so the judge for this poor schmuck is now going to knock out his attorney.
Okay, so I don't know if you guys know this. When Lenny Bruce, just I think maybe even a week before he died, did one final show at in San Francisco. And I love this movie. Everybody talks about how, like, it's sad. He was like worn down, you know, because of his court case over obscenity. And he had dealt with this whole thing. Let's see if I could find. Oh yeah, go knock out his attorneys and Uncle Fred over there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, so he's going through, the whole thing is him going through his court transcripts and explaining how he was railroaded into, you know, literally they put a cop out in his audience, made them take notes, and then they had to perform as Lenny Bruce in absentia. And so she had to, like, he's like, the guy's like, I'm not gonna get any laughs now, but basically, I don't remember all of it, but I took notes. And he goes, okay, well, the purpose of education is, like, refresh your mind, you can look at the notes. Okay, fuck, shit, piss, cocksucker, fuck, shit, motherfucker, and tits. That's basically the act, Your Honor. Like, that's it? Yeah, he said shit a lot of times and that kind of stuff, you know. And then Lenny Bruce was like, and then I got to go in. I got to defend his act. I got to go defend the cop who's been forced to perform his act. And And so he goes through the bits that he was doing and kind of litigates them to the audience, right? Okay. And then there's a part in this where he's talking about like police brutality back then in the 60s. And he's had a bit about pissing in the sink. And then, oh yeah, here you go. He goes, okay. Down performance theme. Okay. So this is him. I'll give you this little bit right here. I don't know if this is I think this is the spot, but it's a jumping off point for what I want to talk about.
And was patently offensive to the average person in the community, as judged by present-day standards.
Okay, so that's why that's the law he violated.
The performance was lacking in redeeming social importance. Again, this is very strange. What this is a misreading and misplacing of about 3 Supreme Court opinions. The average person is not a test for the jurors of the court. The only reason the average person is ever put into the model penal code test was it came from a case called United States versus One Book Ulysses. They said when judging, you'll judge by the person with the normal average sex instincts. So in other words, the sensualist or the fattest won't be the test. In case like some guys who get horny smelling roses, or the most corruptible in the community. Person with the normal average sex instincts. Okay, now he's talking about the patently offensive to
he's talking about like a dirty books, because he was compared to dirty
the average person in the community. As judged by present-day standards, performances were lacking in redeeming social importance. Now, what the misreading there, is they assume that redeeming social importance is a defense to prosecution. It's not. It's an element of the crime. Now, you don't come up with, look how many redeemers I've got. Yeah, what makes it a crime is that it's utterly without any redeeming social importance. That makes it the hardcore pornography. And just a word now about the misuse of the art critic, especially the newspaper critic, in court, out of court. Out of court, a favorable newspaper review of any art form really redeems it for this reason. When the Chronicle advertises it, it's not hardcore pornography. Because the Chronicle, or any major newspaper, has the public interest more so than in court. In court, you're restricted to adults. But what happens, the newspaper delegates this section, and the subscribers look to the newspaper. And the newspaper does not send them to dirty shows, nor does it tell them the wrong weather. No, the Chronicle says, by the Chronicle advertising, here's where it's at, that's where it's at. And the Chronicle, the Court Bulletin, are not schmutz papers. So the redeeming social importance when they get these battle of the experts is ridiculous.
By the way, this is him doing stand-up at the end of his life because he was so burned out, like years of fighting this.
Because all the expert is to come to court to tell the court whether it's art or not. This is to keep some schmuck from sticking his finger up his ass saying, this is art, you don't know, this is art. Now, no critic is going to come to court and say that's art. No.
Flash forward to Mapplethorpe, very possibly that it is art now. And by the way, he arguably, by suffering all this, Lenny Bruce won this case for everyone, even though it ultimately he lost and it killed him.
Not a recognized critic, no. The only reason the critic is to identify it, not if it's good art or bad art, because we don't punish untalented artists in our country. Is it art or is it bogus? Because if you start grading, then you'd end up in the court, this position in court. We have 2 books here. We've got Lady Chatterley's Lover, which is a classic masterpiece, D.H. Lawrence, and Tract Home Chippy. Now, the appellant seeks a protection that the D.H. Lawrence masterpiece got because he says they've got 2 couples in each book, so the story's the same, but they're not the same. Because when you go to the bedroom scene with D.H. Lawrence, the man has had a carry, there's silk sheets, Liebestraum, champagne. Now, Tract Home Chippy, it's a wedding night and they're both virgins. It's disgusting.
Right. So at one point he says, I'm going to jump ahead because there's one part of it where he goes, he realizes in court they're just making his art suck. This is Lenny Bruce, everybody. And he goes, you have to understand there's a difference between a big piece of art with a little shit in the middle, a big piece of art with a little shit in the middle, a big piece of art with a little shit in the middle, or a big piece of shit with a little art in the middle, a big piece of shit with a little art in the middle. Because if you don't understand the art, it's just one big piece of shit. And that's where it was this eye of the beholder thing that he was dealing with. Now, the part I want to talk to you about is the police part. So hold on. Last guy, international guys. It's a rock shingle craftsmanship. It's got to be earlier in the show. Beg your pardon. This is an hour long because it's about like the rules of the community and how basically cops are created to enforce the rules so the rest of the community doesn't have to. Microphone stand, master, son of a bitch. Sorry, I'll find this part in here. I wish there was like a there was a part in this. I guess there we go. I'm gonna miss it again. Okay, sorry. Okay, there you go. Okay. So he's talking about he's talking about like why people think they would never give up their country, and then and then he goes into this is a story about police brutality, and this is in the 1960s. Just remember this.
This guy pays the dues because the lie about the stand-up guy brings a lie about police brutality. There is no police brutality, but schmucks who go to the joint, who know that when they get out that they'll be put down by the community, they figure if they can transport the prison image to a war criminal, and the war criminal who refuses to conform gets acceptance, name, rank, serial number, so the schmuck gets they beat me, they rub a hose and Sam Levine me. Everything, but I didn't get, they wanted names, I didn't give them one name. Schmuck, you're arrested for exposing yourself. Well, I want the names of the other guys anyway. It's, so comes about that lie.
So, by the way, take this with a grain of salt, because I don't agree with Lenny Bruce on a bunch of different things. Same with Carlin. There were like ethical and moral distinctions I want to make. But
now, I said that I saw at the time, I said in Time magazine, I saw some distortion. I said, I believe when the president was killed and the governor got it, and I said, the old lady hauled ass to save her ass.
He got busted for saying that, what's her name? Jackie Onassis hauled ass to get away.
I saw some different captions in the pictures. Now, the first frame I saw was, the frame of the picture, was when it said there that she was helping the guy aboard, Secret Service man. I said, the guy wasn't lost, he didn't get a medal for being helped aboard the car. And I said, what she did, she hauled ass to save her ass. And the problem with saying that she was helping the guy aboard is that if my daughter ever sat with her husband and he got shot and she hauled ass, she'd always feel low and guilty. That she wasn't like the good woman who stayed. And that people don't stay.
Okay, so he's breaking down kind of this legal parts of it. I'll find this whole thing. There's a whole big thing, though. God damn it! I wish I could put my thumb right on the bit, because he does this whole like. Okay, yeah. Okay, here it is. It's like the cops versus the protesters. So this is what he's talking about.
It's about time that the people got hip to something.
He calls it the cop versus the Negroes in this. This is a headline he saw in the Chronicle.
How the system works in our country. What the cop's position is, and what your position is. You see, if you can reduce the whole community to 100 people, the early tribe, the first law is religious law. We all had a simple rule. Okay, the rule, we sleep in area A. We eat in area B, we throw garbage in area C. All agreed, all agreed. Solid. Go to sleep, guy wakes up, gets a face full of garbage. Hey, there's a deal here. I thought it was A, B, and C. Tell all you people having a big party. I'm all alone, I'm sleeping, I got a face full of garbage. As well, it's a religious holiday. No, not religion, it's your ass. Oh. Well, that's not too good a rule. And this guy started, the first guy separating the church and the state. Because in the democracy, the rule has no mercy to it. It's just a rule. It stays constant. It's okay, here's the rule now. A, B, and C, and we're going to enforce the rule because we got to get some sleep. Now we'll...
Sorry, I have no idea who this is. Okay, this is Lenny Bruce. Lenny Bruce was famous for being a quote, offensive comedian back in the 60s. He was busted for saying cocksucker and arrested multiple times for it, for doing his act, even at late night in strip clubs. There's a place called the Hungry Eye, which is a strip club in San Francisco. It was the only place he could perform at the end because you could get hired in places like that because the community standard was different in a strip club. That's why comedians often were in strip clubs, because there were no rules about what could happen there within reason, of course. And that's why if you watch JoJo Dancer Your Life is Calling, which is a movie written by Richard Pryor about his experience, he opened for strippers and performed on the road with like a stripper and a jazz band because the places they played were set up so that, you know, anything goes, right? So you wouldn't get busted for what you were saying because there's a woman taking her clothes off and there's some guys smoking whatever while they're playing. So the rules just didn't apply in that one place. Okay, so this is the last movie he made, the last video of him or film of him doing his act before he died.
You're a cop. Policeman, here's your gig. If anybody throws any garbage on us while we're sleeping, you throw their ass right in the shit house. They live with this garbage, you understand? All right, you take the gig, you do it. So the cop said, what about if it's a guy's aunt? Well, you don't understand. Aunt your ass. We want to get some sleep. Anybody's aunt, mother, brother gets thrown right in the shit house. That's it. The rule is consistent. Now the other guy goes, okay, that's the rule, but I tell you what, policeman, don't kick their ass, throw them in the garbage, but don't do it when I'm around, okay? I'll go in the next room. But if they do it, throw them right in the garbage and keep them there. You see, I can't do it because I'm too nice a guy. And you see, you got to have a certain mentality to do that to people. So I'll wait in the back room and you kick their ass. All right, good. So what happens?
So that's his kind of take on like how we came up with police officers to establish what the rule was, and obviously it's the shorthand of it because obviously there were religious guards and all kinds of stuff like that. There was self-policing that was far more violent. Then there was a standardized legal system, and you know, in certain countries that were established over time. But the cop is a placeholder, like a fiat currency for justice. And the same people that are saying cops suck are in the same boat as people who think, you know, paper money isn't real money. We need to go back to the gold standard, which is basically, you know, in the policing standard, like we just shoot people on our own. Go back to carrying handguns everywhere, right? So the point I'm trying to make is that whatever you hate about what police are doing in any particular instance, they are indicative of society's choices or the choices society refuses to make. Does that make sense? You have to take responsibility on your side, otherwise the other side will seize the reins and drive the whole fucking thing off a cliff. Thanks, I will always vote blue. Thank you. And sure, what good is voting if an elected public servant can buy their seat? Not this time today. Elected public servants can't buy their seat. The only way they can, I guess, buy their seat is if you don't vote. If people don't show up to vote. Some cops just suck, and we should bring the duel back, right? Magoo. Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah, nothing, you know. Why don't we just have street justice and by the time they finish lynching people and burning their houses down after a couple of oopses, we'll be right back where we started. I love when people want to dismantle a system with nothing to replace it and act like it's actually the system's existence that causes the problem we're dealing with instead of it's the best system we have so far until we come up with something better. No, Stacy, my book hasn't gotten here yet. It's supposed to be here tonight or tomorrow, I hope, for John's book. All right, let's jump into the videos. I've been asked a couple of times. I think even Groove Dragon said this, like, don't play clips sometimes and just talk about shit because it needs to be talked about. And I don't mind digging into these kind of things. And most of the videos, as you know, are jumping off points for me to get to these points if they're kind of crucial to what's going on. But let me be abundantly clear. People who harm another human being because of by the choices that they make should face consequences for those choices that they have made, regardless of any immutable characteristic that they have, because the victim doesn't have a choice. The victim, it may be attacked because of their immutable characteristics, because they're a woman sitting alone on a train, or they're, the next door neighbor who's just trying to eat their cornflakes and a fucking stray bullet comes through their wall. Very few people who talk about disparities go down to a cemetery and look at the number of victims of violent crime in the cemetery and go, there's a group here that's very overrepresented. We should do something about it. Does that make sense? Also, I would like to say that we have more people in jail per capita than any other major country in the world. Blah blah blah. A, we don't. It's not true. B, it's largely because they live, because they survive. A lot of other countries, they just die. They don't bother to take care of them. They don't give them health care. That's for fucking sure in a lot of countries. So they just pass away. And the rise in people being incarcerated was not due to the war on drugs. That was why jails capacity went up. That's why jails population went up. But prison, state prison and federal prison, you know why that went up? VICAP and the fingerprint system. Okay, now speaking of somebody who should be facing VICAP and the fingerprint system, this is Trump in the middle of all this horseshit. They just pumped out this innovating housing showcase. No description has been added to this video. This is the laziest shit I have ever seen.
Hello to everyone attending the Innovative Housing Showcase.
This is just a video he filmed to send someplace. And instead of sending them the fucking video, they just posted it on the White House web. Is that what this is? Jesus Christ.
On our national mall, very exciting. Under the Trump administration, we believe that affordable home ownership is a fundamental part of the American dream, and we're working every day to make that dream a reality for millions and millions of Americans.
Millions and millions of Americans. There's 340 million Americans. He's talking about a very specific couple of million. Also, I think this guy come up? Oh, nope, that's the wrong one. Sorry. I thought I had a... Oh, yeah, I've got to move this up. That's why. There you go. Sorry. Just a reminder that Trump's nunt is the thing of nightmares. So just steady yourself. There may be a couple of sightings of it over the last little bit. So the next couple of videos.
A builder all my life. I built things. I was a real estate developer. I know what it is. And I'm thrilled to see some of our nation's greatest architects, engineers, and innovators coming together to highlight
the fact that I'm covering the giant, gnarly, fucked up, cretinous, rotting flesh on the back of my hand.
Edge technologies and new...
By the way, this is turning him into a kind of a horror film villain, just where he sits like this. Why does he sit like this? Oh, the other way, actually. Why does he sit like this all the time? Because if he showed you his fucking hand, you'd barf.
Ideas for housing construction with Secretary Turner at the Department of Housing and Urban Development, who's a great guy.
So good. Fantastic job.
We're slashing permitting delays and eliminating a record number of costly regulations.
Yes, and so if your house falls in on your head a couple of years from now, you know who to blame?
We're also defeating inflation.
Nope.
We took over the worst inflation in the history of our country, and
no, you didn't.
We've beat it, bringing
no, you haven't.
Down mortgage rates, reducing energy costs, and
neither have happened.
Unleashing incredible economic growth like this country has never seen before.
Certainly hasn't seen it yet, and it's not going to anytime soon.
Together, we can put millions more American families in a home of their very own. I just want to thank you and have a great showcase. Hello to...
This is I gotta say, this is like for post-presidency business dealings. God damn. They're just that. This is on the White House website. This is on the White House YouTube page. See that? That's their innovative housing showcase. That's super great, super high quality. That's what he was there doing. By the way, there's a bunch of it's rather telling right now that, and this is how you can tell how fucked up the Epstein stuff is. That most of like what you see about Trump will be like Trump shares message on Law and Order. Where's his longer ones? Hold on the homepage. Trump makes an announcement. Trump delivers remarks. Trump participates in a multilateral meeting. Trump makes an economic announcement. Like they don't know what they're going to say until it happens. So they put up these things and they're like, does anybody know what he's actually going to say or what it's about? No fucking idea. Yeah, so Trump wants to be the new Armando Montalongo. But if there was one person singularly responsible for the 2008 crash, it was him and Jeffrey Epstein. Now, I apologize for this next one. This is going to be a little bit tough, but I need to know about this. You guys both need, like, oh God, okay. I guess it's all Supervillain Day. Like, subscribe, give a thumbs up, support the show. That's Tulsi. Part of I'm not familiar with her work. I know she's the member of an anti-gay cult from Hawaii. But anyways, Tulsi Gabbard on the threat of the deep state. So I'm very concerned about the deep state. I know you are.
Aloha.
Simmer the fuck down.
It's so great to be able to join all of you here today.
By the way, I'd like to say for the record, this looks like a Tulsi Gabbard impersonator. Seriously. I don't know what's going on. Maybe it's the video quality, but it looks like a guy doing Tulsi drag. Also, she's at a national conservatism thing at the Edmund Burke Foundation. So I'm guessing they think everybody should say howdy, even in Hawaii.
This is an event I'm grateful to have been invited to year after year, and the scheduling just never worked out. And so I'm so glad to be able to come and to be able to greet you in person and just talk a little bit about the grave challenges that we face, yes, in the work that we're doing on a daily basis. It's very appropriate that I'm following Mike Benz in this because he's focused on a lot of the same things that we are focused on.
Is he focused on steadying that camera at all, or are you doing this whole thing? Is this like live on the Snowpiercer train?
Investigating and uncovering, but really the challenges that he is talking about are challenges that every one of us as Americans are facing. And
yes, I have a very hard time getting my FOIA requests answered, so I can only imagine how difficult it is to have the keys to fucking everything in the government and still not be able to find the crimes of Hillary Clinton and Hunter Biden.
Ask is not just for a Mike Benz or for a certain agency to take on. This is a moment of opportunity in our country where we have to be very clear-eyed about the direct threats and challenges to our fundamental rights and liberties and freedoms and what we...
Oh, you mean like the government buying its way into companies and companies like Palantir getting like no bid CIA like facial recognition contracts?
The people...
Oh, wait, right. Sorry. All of us have no ability to do anything about it until next November.
Are going to do about it. When we look at how it came to be for me and for others who I serve alongside to be here.
Obviously, the threats are so great that you don't have time to give speeches randomly to conservative institutes. Does that never bother anybody? Like when somebody gives a whole like, we face a time in this country of unprecedented danger. That's why I'm so excited to be here at this luncheon. And wasn't that a wonderful round of mini golf we all got to play this morning? But the enemy, the wolves are at the door, ladies and gentlemen. And after you finish that lovely dessert, and I have to say, I'm jealous we can't do seconds. That we've got to understand that this is a time of great peril for the average citizen, people just trying to live their lives, living in grave danger at all times. And I hope you guys also enjoy, if you look under your seats right now, there is a free ticket to Knott's Berry Farm for you and your family. We'll all be going tomorrow, and I'll be leading the tour.
And to be a part of this change, we go back to the 2024 election and look at how President Trump was reelected and sent back to the White House by a truly unique cross-partisan coalition of Americans.
Yes, the great uniting aspect of, I think Donald Trump will be great for Palestinians. The thread of morons that believed that.
Who looked beyond labels and really were attracted to his message of putting the American people first.
Yeah, they were attracted to his message of putting the American people first, not to the things he's actually doing right now, which is why you're having to do a full-court press, even though allegedly we're all in grave danger. You and all your dipshit friends in the administration, Pam Bondi and Kash Patel, have to run all over the fucking country talking up a big show. Talking it up.
It was a resounding statement in his win of that election by
And the polling that's occurring right now,
a significant and historic margin, and it was a clear rejection of the status quo of the Washington elite, of political leaders who put their own self-interest ahead of the interests of the American people, and it was a demand
crypto. Sorry. Bullshit.
for a government of, by, and for the people.
For a government of, by, and for the people. It's 2 4s. It's 8. Okay, cool.
So here we are about
My Paisley crib. What you want to eat? Ribs? Honey, is there ribs? I heard that rip when you sat down. Oh, no.
7-8 months into this administration. President Trump has wasted no time in challenging this system, this
You mean the function of our democracy and the function of our economy?
broken system in Washington, and striking at its very root, delivering results for the American people to make our nation more safe, secure, prosperous, and free.
By the way, those are all trademarked, so don't even try to use them. Also, they don't have to be true.
I have the privilege of serving as America's 8th Director of National Intelligence, and President Trump has entrusted in me the mission and responsibility of overseeing the intelligence community, this sprawling network of agencies and entities that are
Yeah, CIA, NSA, like naval intelligence, Air Force intelligence, all like coordinating with FBI's international relations with Interpol and all that kind of stuff, and it's a lot, which is why she's standing in front of a plastic podium and fucking conservaderp.
charged with the task of providing timely and objective intelligence to the president and policymakers, free from politicization. Unfortunately, in my short 10 years here so far, we have
10 years? It feels like 10 years. Tenure, you mean? Your short tenure? Has it been 10 years? Shit. Feels, you know what? Maybe she's right.
already seen too many examples of politicization and weaponization
Not the politicization.
of intelligence throughout our country's history. We look at where we are now. Over the last several weeks, we've declassified and released documents that exposed how President Obama and leaders in the intelligence community
Bullshit. Look at her side look.
knowingly manufactured a false intelligence document after
No, they didn't. They didn't knowingly. It's not a false document. It's an assessment.
the 2016 election was done, after the American people said, no, we want Donald Trump to go and be our commander-in-chief, not Hillary Clinton.
Although she beat him by 3 million votes.
And this manufactured document alleged that Russia aspired to help President Trump win the election.
Yeah, you know, since then, the Russians have said it themselves. I'm sorry. Do you know who Sergei Lavrov is? Head of the intelligence agency lady? Do you know that?
With the aim of undermining his presidency and usurping the will and the voices of the American people who sent Trump to the White House.
Yeah, but did they? That's the thing, is that they did impact it. And by the way, if the people voted anyways, what's the harm in going after Russia even if they were trying to help him? Right? It wasn't so much the part about them like helping him win, it's that what he owed them because they had while he was president, and his deference to them the entire time seemed to show that he was aware of it, or that he just liked having a colonoscopy every time he had a meeting with Vladimir Putin. No, I'm not here to yuck anybody's yum, but
When you look at some of the very same leaders who led this manufactured intelligence document, like James Clapper, also had a very direct hand in manufacturing intelligence on the weapons of mass destruction, the alleged weapons of mass destruction in Iraq to support.
By the way, can I just say for the record, there is a huge chunk of MAGA and the right wing that believes we did indeed find weapons of mass destruction in Iraq. There's documentaries made by these people on YouTube about it. Just saying.
George W. Bush's regime change war in Iraq. For me to be here as the 8th Director of National Intelligence and uncover how James Clapper and others like John Brennan manufactured intelligence to try to undermine President Trump's administration and presidency and the voices of the American people, and then go back to the founding of the Office of the Director of National Intelligence that came about as a result of the terrorist attack on 9/11 and the manufacturing of intelligence to support the regime change war in Iraq that George Bush led, is an interesting bookend where we find ourselves still dealing with these same issues of politicization and weaponization of intelligence. James Clapper.
Okay, real quick. Let's see if I can show you this one. Let me drag this down here. I'll show you what I mean. Link new tab. Da-da-da. Years of a lot of these are older. Racor explains. Da-da-da. Yeah, there you go. And this is like this is such like honest to God, they still carry this shit around. Because the vast majority of videos out there, yeah, here you go. Yeah, there you go. Wait, check this out. Pentagon withheld info on decades-old chemical weapons during the Iraq War. WMDs were found in Iraq years ago, but kept confidential until now. This video is 10 years old. There's another one that's have we found that Tom Hartman talking about Saddam Hussein and Rumsfeld. And then this is the American Family Radio. ISIS discovers Saddam's weapons of mass destruction. This is 11 years ago. This is about the same time. I say this not because there were, but because there is a huge chunk of the right wing that still are like dead enders on this shit. They'll die on this fucking hill.
At that time,
I don't know any Democrats that will, though, for the record. I wouldn't. I don't think you would. I don't think I can't find me a member of the DNC or an elected Democrat in the world who will go, oh yeah, no, there were really weapons of mass destruction found in Iraq, right? Like it's absurd. There are Republicans in office right now that whether they'll admit to it on camera is one thing, but that when they're on shows like that, they were like, of course we did. It was right. It was justified.
Was the
fucking lame
director of the agency that is now called the National Geospatial Intelligence Agency, or NGA. And he wrote in his book about how Vice President Dick Cheney was pushing for intelligence.
Yeah, dipshit, we know. You used to be a Democrat. You used to be against this shit. Now you work for and with the party that Dick Cheney was. We didn't vote for Dick Cheney. Democrats hated that fucking guy. We still do. God.
To support the invasion of Iraq, to support the narrative.
Yeah, we know. That's why they were torturing people, asshole. That was the whole point about like enhanced interrogation being torture, was because when Dick Cheney heard, hey, if you torture someone, they'll just tell you whatever you want to hear to stop the torture. He's like, excellent. Here's what I need them to say.
Of Iraq's alleged WMDs, and to support the narrative of Iraq's alleged ties to al-Qaeda, neither of which actually existed. So
also, Iraq's ties to al-Qaeda, they had ties to every terror group there because it's like a mob boss paying off different like hit squads or smaller folks, or like outbreak forces around them.
In response to this, James Clapper ordered his agency to create images that Colin Powell then went on to use to support their alleged WMD narrative. And in James Clapper's words, we were, quote, so eager to help that we found what wasn't really there.
Right. He admits, and he meant we, like the intelligence community, as his job. Like, he wrote that in his fucking book. That's a mea culpa. He's the guy saying that was wrong. That's one of the reasons. That's how you rebuild trust that you have lost. He's not one of the fuckers who's going, what? I don't know what you're talking about. We were totally justified.
End of quote.
She's talking to a group of national conservatives at the Edmund Burke Foundation. Because the deep state.
Seen other examples, those that we know of. There are many others that I believe we don't yet know of.
Well, gee, how do you know what that was? How do you know about that one? Because he wrote it in his fucking book. This is like the Hunter Biden shit. Like, he was a crack addict. How do you know? He wrote it in his memoir. Okay. He should go to jail. Sorry, you're going to arrest people for stuff they said they did? Uh-huh. Well, then why aren't we throwing fucking Trump in jail for saying he can grab women by the pussy? You don't even have to ask. They let you do it if you're a star. That's admitting to committing sexual assault, which I would argue is worse than victimizing yourself with crack. Yes? What's worse? Thinking you have the right and acting on that right to physically assault women that you find attractive just because you think you have the right to, or smoking crack and fucking your lungs, your throat, and your nervous system up. What's worse? The victimless, like, self-inflicted crime, or the fucking rampant, unrepentant rapist that you report to every week, if she does?
In the intelligence community and the FBI knowingly use false information to gain FISA warrants to illegally spy on American citizens.
Bullshit. Carter Page was a fucking courier. Everybody knew it. And the only lie that was in there made it less likely. Less likely. The one guy who went to jail for fucking with a FISA warrant was writing something to make it look less, make it so the judge would reject the warrant. He was trying to help Trump. He was trying to stop them from following Carter Page so Carter Page could go back to handing shit to the Russians at these get-togethers they had. Fuck you, lady. They lied on a FISA warrant. Which direction? What happens if somebody fills out a warrant in an attempt to make the warrant, like, they know the criminals. They're working with the criminals. I'll give you an example. All you know is that they lied on a warrant. And your natural belief is they lied on a warrant to get the warrant. That's the way people's brains are immediately going to go. But what if I told you there was a cop who was in league with, like, these drug dealers and people like that, and he wanted to make sure, because he was in business with them, that they didn't get a search warrant for this guy's house because he knew there was evidence of his business with this motherfucker in that house. So when he's filling out the warrant, the affidavit for the warrant, he puts shit in that he knows the judge will reject. Is that the same? Is that the same result? Is the attempted result the same? In one instance, you would be, in theory, manipulating your application to get a higher chance of being able to get a warrant that is not justified on a citizen. That's what she wants you to believe. The reality is that they had a totally justified warrant that would lead to evidence directly affecting Trump if they were able to continue to surveil Carter Page. And this guy was trying to end that. He was trying to stop it. The only person who got busted for fucking with the FISA warrant system ever that I'm aware of, busted it trying to help Trump.
These are just a few of...
And by the way, he was not a Democrat. He was not a Democrat appointee. He was not a holdover from the previous administration. He was on Trump's team.
Unfortunately, what is a long list of known examples of politicization and weaponization that all point to the truth that many of us here in this room know, which is that the rot runs deep.
Yeah, you don't know that. If the rot, again, I think her saying the rot runs deep is just a way of like getting around the fact that she's going to be ineffective and fucked up in her job, and she's looking for cover because she knows the people that she works with are so ineffective that if there's a terrorist attack on the country, we are woefully unprepared because of these assholes, and she wants to blame somebody else. She wants to go, we would have stopped this if they'd have just let me. The deep state was tangling us all up so we couldn't protect the American people.
And it's not just in the intelligence community. I've seen examples of this across almost every federal agency.
No, you haven't. I call bullshit. No, you haven't. You've seen anecdotal stories told by people with confirmation bias on the right who believe that the federal government is the worst thing that could happen to our country because it would be much better if Vladimir Putin could just swoop in and take the fucking place over.
And so it requires us...
Give one. Fuck you, lady. You don't get to say that and move on. Every fucking area in the government. Listen to this shit again. Let's set up.
And it's not just in the intelligence community. I've seen examples of this across almost every federal agency.
Examples of this across almost every federal agency. And you can't name one. Even the one she named about Clapper is bullshit. It's from his fucking book. You didn't discover it.
This is some bullshit. We see through it.
So fucking lazy.
This is some bullshit.
And so it requires us all to confront the uncomfortable truth that we have these conspirators, these traitors to the Constitution, who are working within our government, who dangerously believe that they are not only above the law, but that they are above the Constitution.
I'm sorry, you're talking about Doge now?
And the Bill of Rights.
And Stephen Miller?
People who believe that...
Who? Fuck you. Who? No, you're the head of... You're the fucking hinge point in the entire intelligence community. You shouldn't be able to say people, nothing. People, nothing. You should be perp walking motherfuckers. You have access to all the information. And if these people are traitors, fucking all bets are off. Ask the fucking Rosenbergs. You can't... Find them. Fucking find them. Where are they? This doesn't aggravate people? Jesus Christ. There's a lot of people in our government that are actively traitorous and undermining the very function of our government, and it's very dangerous. That's why I'm standing here behind this plexiglass podium in a fucking Ramada Inn event space, yammering on about the fucking deep state. Perp walk them, you dumbass. Who? Fucking who? And you can't cite Clapper from his own goddamn book and go like, aha, I made a discovery. It's like claiming, like, you discovered the stars because night fell. Ah, ha, ha, gotcha. You were up there the whole time, you fucking stars.
They have the right to undermine the duly elected president of the United States because they disagree with his positions.
No, they disagree with Vladimir Putin's positions and the fact that Trump was carrying them for them. Yeah.
Or his policies, and that
Which would be what?
they know better. We go back to the first Trump administration and a prominent example of then former Lieutenant Colonel Vindman. And I remember being in Congress as a Democrat at the time, seeing his testimony and the testimony of others basically saying, well, we have to protect the country from Donald Trump, the person the American people elected.
Yeah, but they didn't elect him to break the fucking law. And again, you don't, Jesus Christ. Just because you get elected doesn't mean the law doesn't apply to you anymore. You're like, hey, I got in here. What the fuck you guys gonna do? Why is that the fucking standard? And by the way, if he's committing a crime and the voters don't know about it, how do they know they're getting what they voted for? How is that representative government, Miss Transparency? Jesus Christ, this is lazy.
To be the president of the United States. Whether we agree or disagree on policy.
No, it's not policy, bitch. He was fucking withholding congressionally mandated arms to a country to try and leverage them against his political opponent. People were gonna fucking die because he didn't trust his own fucking rhetorical ability to run a campaign. Is there, and again, this is, the argument here is like, look, you voted him in. If he wants to fuck a kid on the White House lawn, you gotta let him. How dare you go against what the American people voted in? I'm dead serious about that. That is an extraordinary example, but according to Tulsi Gabbard, you voted him in, and if you disagree with kid fucking, tough shit. The American people voted him in for 4 years, no matter what the fuck he does. And if anybody tells on him for fucking a kid on the White House lawn after dark because nobody, and takes pictures of it and then tries to show the world, that person is a traitor. And you're gonna fucking lecture us about fucking Dick Cheney? Get the fuck out of here. This is so much worse than Dick Cheney. And he was a fucking monster. Not only is she, the irony that she sets this whole thing, like they made up this whole yellow cake thing and they were lying about it and how terrible and all these people were operating to help them do it. It's just fucking awful. And then they're breaking all these laws and they're feathering their own nests and all this kind of stuff. And then she goes, which is exactly what Trump has the right to do because he won the election, so fuck you. This is just like, all right. Can I just say for the record, I never liked this woman. When she was running, I was like, something stinks, not a fan, I call bullshit, something's weird. Not ever. And I'm glad that my sense of character, radar is not on the fritz and hasn't been for a long time. Tulsi Gabbard is a terrible fucking person. What she has just expressed, ethically, morally, and philosophically, is fucking vile. And ironic, considering what she was bitching about in the beginning of her remarks about what Clapper did while he was head of the CIA under George Bush and Dick Cheney, who were elected to be president and vice president. And now she's telling everybody, suck it. You can't even look into what the fuck this guy might be up to, or if he's on the take, or any crimes he commits while he's in the White House because he got elected, so fuck you. Well then, how dare you even question Cheney and Bush? One of the reasons, by the way, I would like to say that she is like bringing up Cheney and saying the Bush administration is because the vice president is in the, is the sidecar of the election, and so she isn't confronted directly by her bullshit about elections because she's not talking about Bush, who was directly elected to be the president. So she thinks she can get away with it. No, the fucking administration is those two guys. I don't care who's in the fucking driver's seat. They both got voted in. And if you're saying these two assholes are, should go down for everything, and they're part, and that fucking Cheney, the vice president, is indicative of the deep state. The man was elected. He was directing all this shit. Clapper was complaining because he was on the inside. He was told by the administration. It's not the deep state. It's fish rotting from the head. It's exactly what's going on here. Clapper was at the head of the CIA, and the White House was asking for evidence of different things. Like, hey, do they do this? Yes, they do. But it's not the biggest thing, and it's not really indicative of what's going on. Well, that's all right. We just need pictures of that bad thing. Okay, do they do this too? Do they cut people's heads off? Yeah. Give us all the pictures of them cutting people's heads off. Yeah, but those are isolated incidents. There's millions of people in this country, and that happens, that's in this like one little area that has nothing to do with the government of the, it doesn't matter. Give us the pictures of the people being beheaded. We're going to create the narrative. So Clapper's being used in that situation by Cheney, just the way Colin Powell says he was used. Now, by the way, I have no sympathy for these motherfuckers. They should have known better. In the position of power that you're in, your standard is way fucking higher. But this isn't the deep state, you dipshit. This is the fucking president and vice president telling people what to do. The deep state should have been there to go, fuck you, buddy. The Constitution's what we swear loyalty to, not you. And you're asking me to lie. And what she's saying is, if Trump tells people the lie, who the fuck are you to question him? Tulsi Gabbard may singularly be the worst cabinet member that they have. And the fact that she's the head of the DNI is insane. And on top of all that, all the moral ambiguity and the fucking lying and the accusations of somebody being a traitor while insisting on traitorous behavior within her own administration that she works in. On top of that, the world's fucking coming down, and she's at some dipshit conservative action conference as the head of the fucking National Intelligence Agency, the DNI. Why? Why the fuck is anybody in the intelligence community, the CIA head, the DNI, it's even weird when the FBI head gives speeches at fucking political conferences. It's wrong. After you leave office, do whatever the fuck you want. But while you're the director of national intelligence, the idea that you would show up, and she's like, you guys invited me a bunch of times, but I didn't have the free time until I was running the entire intelligence apparatus of the United States, because we're on autopilot anyways. Trump basically just believes whatever Russia tells him, so thumb up my ass. Get the fuck out of here. What a terrible, terrible woman. Jesus. I got my own self hot telling that story. Shit. What an, it's fucking stunning. What a fucking loser. And so much of this is just the cognitive dissonance, the diametrically opposed ethical standards in one brain at the same time, and they're like, I don't care. I don't know. I've got a little fucking bubblegum machine in my head that tells me what I believe, and no matter what I put in, it just comes out and says, sucks to be you. You know that guy, who's the fucking CIA guy who's on all the fucking podcasts right now? Hold on. I don't know if you guys have seen this guy. CSL, I know you've seen this dude. The dude with the fucking, like, fro that he's always got pulled back. Teaches, but okay, something like that. Where is he? He'll be in it. Yeah. Yeah, this fucking dude. Hold on.
My name is
Yeah, this fucking dude. He runs a channel called Everyday Spy. How the CIA actually works a year ago. Can I just straight out just go bullshit? I'm not in the CIA. I've never been in the CIA, unlike Tucker Carlson's dad. I haven't been. I'm not. Okay? I wish I was. The problem with that is, I guess, is that if you were, whether you're saying you were or you wouldn't, or you aren't, you could still be, I guess. I used to be, you know. Like CIA is like Mitch Hedberg on drugs. I used to do drugs. I still do, but I used to too, right? Was Chuck Berry in the CIA? Barris, the guy from the Gong Show, you mean? But this guy, anyways, he does this Everyday Spy thing, and he's on all these things telling you how the CIA works and all these former CIA, like, there's this video.
When this story hits the airwaves, it's going to transform people's opinion about the CIA and the depths to which CIA will dive to collect intelligence that protects Americans. So one of its own officers became a spy, reporting our secrets to a foreign adversary. My wife and I were included in an operation to bait the mole, to make a mistake so that the mole could be found.
And it turned out that's because they thought you were the mole, stupid. Right. Excellent, crazy, insane alien. I guess technically that would be true. Anyways, on the one hand, why would I ever believe what he's saying is true? There's a bunch of people who get in the CIA and then wash out or are fired or whatever, and they go, I was in the CIA for 8 minutes, right? Before they found out, you know, or they're using you as bait, they're flopping you out. You're like the GLG 20s and Spies Like Us, right? But on the other hand, if you were in, why would I believe anything you say considering what your fucking job is? And that's not even holding that against him. I don't think a CIA agent, you know, you should be expected to be able to take them at face value. What a stupid fucking idea. I don't even know, like, any respectable CIA agent wouldn't want you to. Like, dude, I mean, I'm in the CIA, like, take everything I say with a grain of salt, of course. I would respect you more if you were like, I don't know, sounds like bullshit, buddy. Yeah, I call bullshit. And he's everywhere. It's just so lazy. Anyways, okay, so, how much, fuck, man. This time flew by. It's because of that my TED Talk at the beginning. Took up a lot of time. This is Mark Levin, who, according to, was that Fuentes who said, like, Mark Levin's nephew got somebody fired for going against Israel because because Pat Robertson was, Pat Buchanan was right this whole time, whatever it was. Okay, so Trump sinks drug boat. Okay, no, he didn't. And by the way, what the fuck boat is that? We all saw the video, and that ain't it. Nice try covering, though, where you're like, it doesn't look like an open boat, so you can assume there's something below deck. There was no below deck. It was just a fucking open fishing boat. So, anyways, Trump crushes Maduro's narco-terrorists with U.S. military might, says fucking dipshit.
Most side hustles. All hype.
Fucking AI.
This one.
Slop.
I did 20 years in the service. Retired, but I wasn't done.
I didn't realize I was
Trump
AI.
does use our military against bad guys. And
Sorry, you don't use the military against bad guys. And also, how do you know? How do you know? How do you know there were bad guys and it wasn't just a boat and that those guys were fucking scared because they didn't know who was telling them to stop?
that's what you're supposed to do with our...
No, you're supposed to, our military is supposed to face off against other militaries. That's why we have police and FBI and Interpol that we interact with.
military. Use it against bad guys, you know? terrorists, Marxists, druggies.
Terrorist, Marxists, and druggies. No, we should not use the military against druggies, you fucking clown. Oh my God. All right, Mark Levin. I'm assuming that not only does he smell almonds, but anyone around him can smell it too.
We're trying to ship drugs into the United States of America?
That boat wasn't going to America, dumbass. You have no idea what was in it. No idea. Like, I'm not even going to start playing with these motherfuckers that they knew who was in it, knew where those people were going, and that they deserved to die. No, it was murder because you didn't check. That's still murder. Assuming someone is awful and firing into their fucking car and then finding out later they were innocent, or finding out later you had no right to assume they were guilty, is still fucking murder.
Donald Trump says peace through strength. He doesn't say peace, let's all smoke pot. Peace through strength. Strength. Donald Trump.
Jesus Christ. Okay, he clearly got marching orders. This is, I mean, you gotta be reading like, okay, this is how we've got to explain the murder of 11 people and the blowing up of a boat in international waters where we had no declared embargo.
Does use our military.
No, he doesn't. He turns some of our military into a hit squad.
Against bad guys. And that's what you're supposed to do with our military. Use it against bad guys. You know, terrorists or Marxists.
Again, what the fuck? Marxists? No, you don't get to use the military against people because of their ideology. The fuck are you talking about? Good God, man. Yeah, right. You might as well say Zionists then, or fucking the Amish.
Or druggies who are trying to ship drugs into the United States of America. Yeah.
You have no evidence that that's what was happening. What we said, Biden did it. If he said Biden did it, they would say he was trying to cover for the fact that his mind was slipping. And yeah, Jesus.
Donald Trump says peace through strength. He doesn't say peace, let's all smoke pot.
They literally are talking about trying to change the classification of pot nationwide, and that's a fight going on in the Republican Party, in the administration right now. They think this is gonna help them in the next election to change the classification of pot.
Peace through strength. Strength. So we have this guy named Maduro. He inherited Venezuela from Hugo Chavez. Maduro is a pig. He's a Stalinist, just like Chavez was. They're
So what?
called communist Marxists. And he's a multi-billionaire, and Chavez died a multi-billionaire, and he left the money to his kids. They're multi-billionaires. Meanwhile, the people in Venezuela are starving to death.
Does that mean you're a really good Marxist or a really bad Marxist?
Not a hell of a lot they can do about it, but try to escape, of course, to our country, because they pay off militias that are in neighborhoods and communities. They go through the neighborhoods and terrorize people and brutalize people.
No, the drug gangs have been doing this. The militias don't do that. Jesus. Like, he's just, what he's doing? He's just taking details from any rando South American country and part of a Chuck Norris movie he saw once and just throwing it all together, because fuck, who gives a shit about facts or reality?
And this is the great struggle, of the Islamists and the Marxists in the United
What the fuck are you talking about? That's not even the argument of what's going on in Venezuela. The concept is, it is a narco state. It's simply a mafia-run kleptocracy. Just like Russia. That's the argument. Stop trying to sell books on 11 dead people in a fishing boat.
States and throughout the world to bring paradise of the sort that they have in Venezuela. And
Venezuela? He's been talking to Trump. He's going to say China next.
of course, they talk about equality. Well, there is equality if you're not part of the ruling class. Equality, you're all poor as hell. You're all starving to death. And this is a country, Venezuela, that was the wealthiest country in our hemisphere behind us.
Holy shit, this is boring. How can you be so like vile and incendiary in your rhetoric and be boring? It's a talent. It's very impressive. I gotta say, I couldn't do it. I couldn't say wild, disassociated, sociopathic horseshit like this and be boring, and in an NPR voice. How do you even? That's amazing.
Number two,
Yes. Well, that's how I would describe this entire show.
of its massive oil production and reserves and so forth. So they turned the second wealthiest country into
I can't.
the poorest.
This is fucking
You might
good lord.
say, well, that reminds me of California. Yeah, exactly.
Get the fuck out of here. Jesus Christ. Try harder. You jittery bastard. Yeah, exactly. No, not exactly, you motherfucker. So what's the argument? There are druggies in California, so Trump can fucking park a nuclear sub off of San Francisco, you fucking tit. Oh my God. All right. Quick jump to the next one. By the way, hit the like, share the show. It's House Sparks Megaworldwide. We haven't seen Mike Pillow in a while, and they only have him, I think, to sell. Like they let him come on and espouse the show. Look at Bannon already looking over at the video of Lindell going, this fucking guy. But he pays the bills, so they gotta let him on. And this is
You've got food,
you got
you've
AI.
got supplies.
You got AI slop.
but what about income backup?
Well, what about chafing cream?
Social
Yeah.
Security, delayed, pensions, shrinking.
You have a
but this-
moldy garage door?
Mike Lindell, they've tried to destroy you, but you're indestructible. Tell us.
I don't think destruction was the thing. I think he folded on his own.
Where, first off, the big news coming out of Michigan today that the Lecter's case has been dropped. We need to do that in Nevada, Wisconsin, Georgia, and Arizona, right? Those are the big four left. Your thoughts, Mike Lindell?
Well, first of all, Christina, you are such a brave hero. I just got it's so good to see.
Oh, he's crushing. Oh, it's so good. It makes me do my weird lip thing there, Oh, Chris. Oh. I'm sorry you can't go anywhere near the White House because they stomp all over you, but if you ever want to move up here to Minnesota, I can set up a section of the warehouse for you. Oh, maybe like a glass cage where you can shower. Oh. Yikes.
I love you, Mike.
Steve, this is what, like Christina said, these were scare tactics lawfare used that hadn't been used since the 1700s to this magnitude.
Well, they haven't had to use them. I mean, consider you're a generational level asshole.
Our country, probably anywhere in the world in history, they
No, really. Other places, I guess they just chop you up.
used it to scare everybody, to bankrupt everybody. And this happening in Michigan today, that judge making that ruling, you guys, it's like this will, I believe it'll set a precedence. We have broke through the biggest cover-up of the biggest crime the world has ever seen.
Yeah, I doubt it. Hold on. What, they just dropped the thing because the litigants weren't necessary? They won everywhere else? Michigan, Lindell, court, something like that. Michigan, Lindell, court, voting, something. Federal rule does. Oh, okay. He doesn't have to pay the. Is this the July 24th? Is this what we're doing? No, okay. This is him coming over. Okay, so federal court rules. Because he doesn't have to pay the prove Mike Lindell wrong guy because the guy beat him. Michigan court case, the lawsuits ruling related to Lindell and election fraud taking place in other states. Here's some other Colorado defamation, prove Mike wrong contest. In July 2025, federal appeals court ruled that Lindell does not have to pay $5 million prize money to a software developer who won his prove Mike wrong challenge in 2021. The court overturned an arbitration panel's decision siding with Lindell. I guess that's what they're talking about. Yeah, and they appealed it. Appeals court hands the win fight over 5 minutes. Yeah, so the guy will still beat him, but now he doesn't have to pay the money. It's not going to set any tone.
They tried to take our country without firing.
Is he talking about the fake electors? Hold on. Fake electors case, Michigan. Dismiss the charges again. Okay, that's what it is. Who signed papers saying Trump won in 2020. Michigan State Institute dismissed charges against fake electors who signed certificates falsely. Oh, hold on one second. What do you think of the yeah buts? Let's see. The group includes current former GOP officials, a Republican National Committee member, a mayor, school board member, and Trump supporters who were the plaintiffs in a frivolous lawsuit that tried to overturn 2020 results. Each was facing 8 charges. This is a fraud case, and we have to prove intent. I don't believe that there's evidence sufficient to prove intent, Judge Kristen Simmons said from the bench on Tuesday in her Lansing Court. And the ruling ends the criminal prosecutions that sought to punish state-level actors for ignoring the popular vote results. The outcome is a staggering blow to efforts to hold the 2020 fake electors and their allies accountable, though they're still pending cases in Nevada. Okay, that's what they're talking about. Some of the other ones against the fake electors thing stalled. Hold on, Judge, what's her name? Judge Kristen Simmons. Hold on one second. Well, I think Trump's going to have it's going to be a difficult moment for Trump. He won't know how to feel against this. That's her. That's the judge who said you can't prove intent, and so now Trump's going to pretend he likes black women in positions of power for like a week.
Shot. Now this is, I won the $5 million challenge just a few months ago.
No, you didn't. You didn't have to pay the guy. You could welch on the bet. You had the right to welch on the bet, is what they gave you.
You see,
still lost the actual challenge.
These lawfare is going to start crumbling. They don't. Back then, they needed to use these scare tactics. But one of the things I want to say, Steve, is as we move forward, everybody, as these things start happening, we have to get the word out that, yes, this really happened in 2020 and other elections. Our elections are the worst of any place in the world.
Well, after the election of Donald Trump, I think more people will agree with you, but for different reasons.
And we have to secure them. I just talked to the president the other day about this. We need everybody to spread the word. As these things start happening, this should be big news. And you're not going to see this news on Fox News, everybody.
Yeah, Fox. Those guys. I mean, you and me, brother, look, those are assholes over there. You're absolutely right. Thank you for bringing it up, finally.
You're not. Okay, you need to see this news. Hey, these guys were charged, and they were charged, and it was all fake. It was all false. It was all lies.
Nope, it wasn't fake. It wasn't all false. They just couldn't prove intent because they didn't have access to their communications, because more than likely they had those communications in person. So they didn't have records to show the intent to defraud the election. You can actually, technically speaking, you could... your defense could be, Your Honor, I was a gullible asshole. I wasn't lying. I was stupid. That was their defense. And you can't argue with it because they're standing right in front of you. They certainly look fucking stupid.
And all the people that are still sitting out there with all this lawfare against them, I still got $2-3 billion worth of lawsuits against me with these machine companies, but they push them.
Yeah, you're gonna lose those.
Years, and and they're all gonna go away. But
no, they're not.
We have to spread the word so that when our great president comes out with the plan that is coming soon to
totally
secure our elections and get to where we need to, like all the other countries that don't have computers and use paper ballots hand counted, that everyone in the country wants the same thing of the people. I don't care what party you're in. The people have to be behind this and see what happened.
Mike, I got to ask you, just because you've been hit so hard on this too, and so many media articles have come out against you, with the amount of...
And videos mocking the shit out of him, I'd like to say for the record.
Attacks that you got back in 2020, 2021, really up until present, with all of the articles and the stories coming out against you, when you won your $5 million issue, and when you've...
He didn't. The court gave him the right to renege on the contest. he didn't win. Basically they found that he didn't. The guy actually did win. The guy did prove him wrong. He just doesn't have to pay the guy.
Getting these victories, have you seen the same amount of media interest in your victories?
Oh, absolutely not. I mean, I was surprised, though, when it did come out, the $5 million check. It did get some coverage, but you'd think that would have been the first thing on your Fox Newses or your news.
No, I wouldn't. No one would. The part where you got bested in that. Hold on one second. Let's see. Mike Pillow 5 million. Yeah, it was an appeal. Let's see. The Eighth Court reversed a lower court's ruling. The appeals judge wrote a 12-page decision that a panel of arbiters went too far in requiring Lindell to pay a man who offered proof that cyber data used by 2020 election deniers was invalid. In 2021, he held his out to get prove Mike wrong. That put up $5 million reward to anyone who could prove him. Lindell is a staunch ally. Software developer Robert Zeidman concluded the data provided wasn't valid and spelled out the reasons in a report submitted during the contest. But when he didn't get the prize, he claimed breach of contract by the Lindell Management LLC entity that set up to run an event. He went to arbitration, and after a 3-day hearing, was awarded the money. Lindell went to court, lost the first round, but Wednesday's appeal court ruling takes Lindell off the hook, barring additional court review. They celebrated the ruling and pleading that this is a miracle and is righteous and blah, blah, blah. Zeidman and his attorney, Brian Glasser, maintained that the prior decision held more weight because it came from 3 arbiters who had heard all the evidence, including one appointed by Mr. Lindell. He said next steps are under discussion. Lindell faces hefty legal judgments over discredited 2020 election claims. Yeah, so they didn't prove that he found an appeals judge that was friendly to Trump that basically said that overruled the arbitration, that they didn't have the right to do that, to rule on it, even though that's what the contract actually said. He didn't fucking win. It's still true that guy proved he was wrong.
Going, hey, look at Mike Lindell. It was all true. His evidence is true. It is.
Nope. This is, and by the way, I would like to say he should be as ashamed telling this lie, wearing that cross around his neck, as Caroline Leavitt should be when she does. That's a lie. What he just told you. I just told you what's actually in the ruling. This had nothing to do with his evidence. When the evidence was heard, that guy, the arbitration board, including the guy appointed by Lindell and these other independent people, he didn't get to pick one of the people in the arbitration at all. Those 3 people said, yep, it meets all the standards. You got to pay him the money. And the appeals court overturned it because they didn't have the right to do it. Because Lindell basically, he lost the first round, and then they found a favorable court that liked Trump. So, bullshit. It's a lie to say that the evidence was, adjudicated and Mike Lindell was found right. That's a lie. Even if in the future he would, even if he could say he would eventually have been found to be telling the truth or that he was right, that's not what happened here, and he's lying right now. Mike Pillow is a liar.
Good, but you don't see that right now when they're kind of on to me. Where they attack me, and I use that to get the word out. So, of lately, the media is not attacking me. You have, if you.
In their defense, you are boring. So there's that. I got to tell you, there was a point where we chased down some of his shit. I don't even know. Here, let me look this up. See, is Lindell TV still around? Fuck me. Yeah, there it is. It's where fucking Silk has her Diamond and Silk show. It's Rudy posts his bloggy thing. Yeah, this is just ass. The Rudy Giuliani show is on there, and it's just like one of the places they put up. Diamond and Silk, the Dr. Maria, The Absolute Truth with Emerald Robinson, The Hope Report. This is from sketchy BitChute shit. Maha with Mike. Oh, God. DC Dispatch. Wait, we got to check in on DC. Remarkable People podcast or whatever. So what's this? Colonel McGregor scores Trump's Law and Order blitz and foreign policy shakeup. Trump revives Christian foundations. Chess or treachery, decoding DJT's dance with Gates and Zuckerberg. Oh, let's see. I want to see what. Hold on. Is this?
Big retailers don't want you to have
Shut
this
up.
zoom lens, but there's nothing they
Why
can
is
do
this
to
not-
stop it. So there's this new superpower.
Damn. Simmer the fuck down. This is just on Rumble.
It is interesting, though.
Make sure we don't upset our sponsor.
No.
There's no other explanation for it. To watch a news program that so heavily only shows the one side and cuts it off to show the other side, to show the retorts. I mean, we played both sides here just yesterday. We had the people attacking him, and then we had his comeback. It's not like we only played his comebacks. I mean, this is...
Well, you can't. It wouldn't make any fucking sense, right? I guess, if somebody's rhetorically answering... Yeah, this is definitely a rabbit hole.
This is just how deceitful legacy media is. It's disgusting. I'm sure
so disgusting.
our Kara Castronova has an opinion on this. She is live there in the swamp. Kara,
president
what
later
a demoralizing thing, though, to see RFK Jr. killing it there, and then later that evening to see Trump flanked by Bill Gates and Mark Zuckerberg.
I know. I'd feel betrayed if I was allowed.
Definitely was demoralizing and a shocking image, I think, to see President Trump flanked by those two people that MAGA just despises.
Oh, I see. I'm sorry. My mistake. You assholes think he gives a fuck about what you think still. Really? Really? You're still there. You still think he considers, well, maggots might not like this. He's done with you assholes. He's not running again, you dumb shit.
Maha, obviously. I got so many text messages from various people that I've worked with through the years with Medical Freedom saying, what's going on with President Trump? Why is he trusting Bill Gates and bringing
Yeah, what's going on?
him into the fold? Is it 3D
Into the fold. You think he was ever not in the fold?
chess or 5D chess? A lot of people think maybe it's just Trump trying to bring his enemies closer.
Yeah, that's what he is. It's so he lets them sit right next to Melania so he can shiv them. Aha! You don't know this, but I'm his assassin. Quick.
Or what's going on? Is he buying Bill Gates line of what? I don't know what the situation is.
No, I don't think he's buying Bill Gates' line of what. I think he's hoping Bill Gates will buy some of his crypto.
But Bill Gates was really kissing the ring, really trying to cozy up to the president. Maybe he wants to be the...
Trying? He was at a table of tech billionaires to talk about fucking AI and where stuff is going. He's retired from Microsoft, and he's still sitting right next to Melania after everybody knows full well that there's only one other person that's equally as tied up with Epstein as Trump is, and that's Bill Gates. Bill Gates, his fucking wife was he hung out with Epstein after he was arrested. His wife was this dude just had a blind spot for hanging out and partying with this motherfucker. Way beyond Clinton or anybody else.
Elon Musk, who knows? But here is a clip of Bill Gates talking about Operation Warp Speed and all the medical advances.
Excuse me. It's Operation Fartsteed, and don't forget.
Captain's log.
Okay.
That he plans on working with the president.
Well, I'm in the second phase of my career, giving away all the wonderful money that Satya's good work has helped multiply a lot. But I think the thing that ties my first career that I still spend some time on because AI is so phenomenal, and my second career is innovation, innovating in health in areas like vaccines or gene editing, and the president and I are talking about taking American innovation to the next level to cure and even eradicate some of these diseases. He mentioned polio.
Look at Trump. Yep, I'm gonna get that Nobel Prize. Fuck you, maggots.
Captain's log.
Which is one that we're close. We don't need new science on that one. For some like HIV and sickle cell, we do need new science, but the U.S. has the seeds that, in the same way that Warp Speed took those seeds and put them together.
Captain's log.
I think something fantastic can be done. AI for our foundation is that we want a doctor for everyone in Africa through AI. We want farmers to have.
Notice what he said, a doctor for everyone in Africa. Trump did his, I don't know about that waddle. What? Check this out. I seriously. Back up. What is this doing over here?
Incredible advice, and kids to have fantastic. For some like HIV and sickle cell, we do need new science.
Watch Trump when he says a doctor for everyone in Africa.
But the U.S. Has the seeds that, in the same way that Warp Speed took those seeds and put them together, I think something fantastic can be done. AI for our foundation is that we want a doctor for everyone in Africa through AI. We want farmers to have incredible advice.
Did you see that? Like, I don't know about that. Either that or there's a strong possibility that he just beefed one on Melania. That's also a possibility. I don't want to immediately assume that he's just like, Africa? Why was I fucking doctor in Africa? Why the fuck do we give doctors to those people?
And, kids to have a chance to learn. So the work being done by the people at this table is changing the world. It's, coming fast, so it's great. We all get together and talk about how the U.S. can lead in this key area and apply it even to the poorest outside the U.S. as well as to our great citizens. So thank you for incredible leadership, including getting this group together.
So gross, Kara.
It's so gross. It's fucking disgusting. And he said gene editing right there to the president's face, and the president was like nodding. And the only time he had a moment where I was like, fuck that, I could tell if he had fuck that in his eyes, was when he said something about like helping people in Africa. So that makes me feel better.
The president and I. It's like the president and I. It's just like really disgusting, and especially.
I'm so glad we went down this fucking Lindell rabbit hole. I had no idea there was this whole like, oh my God, what the fuck that's happening around Trump and the crusty magosphere. Like, what the fuck? Like, I'm watching, I'm like, what the fuck?
After you played that old soundbite of him speaking very ill of President Trump and Robert Kennedy Jr. now acting like they're a BFF and they're going to be working on all these malaria vaccines to kill.
Gee, it's almost like Trump is both a terrible judge of character and completely transactional as a human being. What a piece of shit. Welcome aboard, ladies.
Kids in the Philippines. It's absurd. And it has a lot of people really, really upset, like real.
I wanted to leave you with this tonight, kids. It was all part of the plan, that I wanted you to go to sleep tonight knowing that somewhere out there, and this will lull you to sleep tonight, somewhere out there in the peripheral crust of the magosphere, there's discontent brewing all over the place. They're finding dozens of new ways to get really paranoid and hate Trump's guts. And that, in and of itself, should make you sleep like a fucking baby tonight. That has been my goal, is to help you relax and understand that there are a lot of moving parts out there, and in the case of the fucking this Trump jalopy, the wheels are fucking coming off this thing, even among them. Because would it be a surprise for me to question, like, what the fuck is he after all he said, and Zuckerbucks and all that shit, there's Zuckerberg sitting with him. Isn't it ironic, and isn't it duplicitous? Isn't he talking out of both sides of it? Like, if I pointed out or you pointed out, who gives a shit amongst the maggot faithful? But these folks are like, what is he doing? Oh my God, why is he there? Like, he's there. Like, they're having dinner. And he's, like, right next to him, okay? And he's like, what is going on? So I gotta turn it, and I'm, like, watching him, like, why is he having dinner with these tech billionaires to start with? And then I turn it, and it's like, oh, my God. I'm like, maybe he and Elon are getting back together, and that'll be fine, even though I'm not sure. But I'm very upset about it, but it might be okay. And then he comes out, and it's fucking Zuckerberg and Bill Gates on either fucking side of him. What is going on? What is happening? How is this even possible? Okay? Now he's talking about vaccines and gene editing, and Trump didn't do anything. He didn't throw a fucking drink in his face. Melania didn't get up and start like grounding and pounding. What the fuck? Every day. And you could say that the Epstein stuff is, you know, is sort of the first thread that truly got pulled, right? Yeah, that started this unravel. But man, it's going like fucking gangbusters right now. It's so so good to see. Because eventually, my goal is not only do you guys like this song, but I want maggots to go, you know what? And Al Sparks is right. This might be my new favorite song. Because it's truer for maggots than it is for us. And that's saying a lot.
The screen glows bright with a crooked smile.
Hit the like, share the show. I'll see you guys tomorrow.
Words spill out. All venom, no style. Promises made, they rot in the air. A handshake, a lie, a blank, cold stare. Puppets dance, the strings are tight. Shadows whisper in the dead of night. This we see through it. This is some bullshit. Can't undo it. Say it loud. We won't quit. This is some bullshit. Paper thin truths that crumble like ash. Golden thrones built on stolen cash. We raise our fists, we break the mold. Your house of cards is getting old. Static hums, the wires ignite. Truth's a bomb, we're ready to fight. This is some bullshit. We see through it. This is some bullshit. Can't undo it. Say it loud. We won't quit. This is some bullshit.
Bullshit!
Really cool, by the way. Really cool, by the way.
I gotta think of a more horrible job. And you have to do it.
He's genius, eh?
Bullshit!
Oh, nice marmot.
We need you.
No, I need you. I'm a mess without.
I love lamp.